Okay, so about next speaker, he currently serves as honorary chairman elect and honorary director of Gesia IT Association and director and CEO at Adit Microsystems Private Limited with deep experience across enterprise software, cyber security, ITSM and digital platforms. He is known for driving strategy, growth and strong teams and has even presented India in international business delegations as well. Outside work, he is a sports enthusiastic from cricket to cycling. So again, one of the health freak we have. Please welcome, boys and girls, Mr. Satyarth Srivastava. Let's have once again big round of applause for the legend Satyarth sir. Thank you. Please take a seat, sir. All right, next has also been one of my favorites since my school days, college days. I graduated from LD engineering and every time it was campus and the same name was keep coming in. So my 5th sem to 8th sem has always been a dream for me to work under the leadership of them. So he's a serial entrepreneur and venture investor with over 30 years of experience in India and USA. He founded eInfochips in 1994 and grew it from 1% to over 2,000 engineers before it was acquired by Aero Electronics. He also played a key role in building Gujarat's semiconductor and technology ecosystem, and I have seen that transformation from my own eyes. If you ask anybody in Gujarat about eInfochips, they know for sure. That has built a lot of careers. Today, through the Dr. K.R. Shroff Foundation, he supports work in education, livelihood, healthcare and climate while contributing to mentor and invest in startups. Please welcome Apda Badana, Sauna Pyara, Dilma Vasta. Please, one and only Mr. Pratul Shroff. Please come on stage, sir. You have been an inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs. With a big round of applause, please welcome guys. Can I have mic, please? Thank you, sir. Please take a seat.
So I think for the result, we will, we'll share in the group, but we can share some summary of it. But I think the legends are on the stage, so we'll not keep them wait. And so I'm sure all the entire detailed report will be shared over the WhatsApp group and the emails. But Vishal, over to you. Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. After energetic chat with Ankur, I think we have a seasoned entrepreneur who's been around in this industry and has been, as he was just introduced, made a big mark in the industry. So let's begin with asking him as to how he started, how he had the idea, and how he started the company first in 1994.
So, personal circumstances kind of got me in starting the InfoChips, very honestly. And at that point in time, things were very different than what they are today. And, one of my favorite saying is, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So, all I knew was hardware design, embedded products, chip design. But there was one significant factor that also played a role in starting us in semiconductor. And that was when I was designing chips in Intel, everything was being done by hand, schematics. By 94, there were what the industry calls electronic design automation tools, which would take the description of hardware in a particular programming language and translate that into transistors and gates. You really don't have to know about semiconductor physics. And that's a big disruption, right? From going from the hand crafted design to something which is automated. So the thought was, I saw this disruption and wonder whether we can take advantage of that, because India has a lot of raw talent. You have to shape it up, but that can be done if it's possible. So I started by hiring 4 engineers, selling them the whole concept that their lives are going to change if they kind of mastered this language called Verilog and learn how to do the hardware design in Verilog language. And to top it all, I said, you have to put the money where the mouth is. So if I'm going to transform your lives, you have to take a 30% pay cut. And I meant it, because if everything is equal, it's very easy to decide and give it a shot. But you have to put your money on the table, then you really have to, your gut churns, and you really have to think through whether you really want to do it or not. And only if you're committed, then you get on the board. And that was money was not the reason. Getting them to think deeply and committed was the reason. And luckily for me, they came on board, and we were able to kind of place them, get them in the Silicon Valley. So I thought this idea is doable. And then we hired 30 engineers and started the training program for that. And that's how it got started on that. The important part here, in my mind, when people talk about strategy and all of that, AI, biggest disruptor today. The thing to think about is that when things are disrupted, there are going to be problems and there is going to be potential. How do you focus on potential, number one? And what do you do things differently than anybody else to stand out in the crowd? That's very critical. For me, doing the embedded hardware and all of that was standing away from very typical IT. And how are you going to compete? I mean, what do I know about COBOL? Nothing, right? So fixing, at that time, I'm talking about 28 years ago, fixing the Y2K problem was a big wave. ERP, all SAP was a big wave. I said, no, we are not going to be able to swim there. Let's just stay out of it, stay in a smaller pond and get to be a big fish, then we'll see how things go. So from strategy point of view, both of these are very important. How do you differentiate yourself, number one, and how do you stand out in the crowd? Same thing, but that's very important.
So you mentioned you had the first 4 people and convinced them with whatever they were to achieve. But from there to 2000 and more, so how was that talent acquisition? How was that happened?
So in Ahmedabad, you're not going to get the ASIC design service engineers. And it was very clear for me that we'll have to take the raw talent and train them. So what became important for me is the interview as a process. As a company, as an individual, I never focused on the skill set. I focused more on the talent. And to kind of get the right people, I'll ask a lot of weird questions and look at the approach the individual has. So for example, I'll ask, how many gas stations are there in Ahmedabad? I don't know, he doesn't know. But how is he trying to solve the problem is the interesting part. Because the life is always going to throw curveballs at you, googly at you, right? And how you're able to focus on solution, how you're trying to find out a solution becomes very important. So puzzles and basics of operating system, like I'll ask, if you have to design a computer and it can take days to run, how many minimum number of instructions are required? And people, you really have to think, and your fundas have to be clear, right? Only then you can answer. So that's how the selection of candidates was done on the fundamentals and the raw talent. And then, like Shahabuddin Rathod says, "Aksar Gnan ame apsu, Kanyane." એટલે એના જેવું હતું, અક્ષર જ્ઞાન અમે આપ્યું. And things worked out by God's grace.
Like attitude is the most important thing.
Attitude, fundamentals, problem solving attitude, like you said, right, is very, very critical. Another one of my favorite line is either you are a part of the solution or you are part of the problem. If you have noticed in the world, there are people who always complain, bitch and moan, ये problem है, वो problem है. And there are people who focus on solutions. So finding those people is very important. So our approach in InfoChips always has been that we'll take a lot of talent, a lot of fresh graduates, train them, and basically build the teams out of that. And that's how the company grew.
So you were running courses in some of the engineering colleges and absorbing the entire batch for that particular course.
Yeah, so the easier, then again, you have to think about scale, right? Like I said, we hired 20 engineers in 98, 99 and trained them on ASIC, Verilog. But how, when you start building up, then you have to take the batch of 20 and 30s. So we started reaching out to the colleges also and putting the training, you know, the engineering VLSI design courses, operating system courses and all of that in the various colleges, hoping, and it's a win-win, right? Everybody benefits. The college benefits, we benefit, students benefit, everybody benefits. So that's also very important as a principle to create the win-win situation.
Another important thing when scaling is like in the beginning, you are the finance person, you are the salesperson, you are the HR person doing it. So at what stage you realize that, you know, now you have to let go of things and, you know, give that responsibility to others?
So the situation I was in way back then, the emails were there, but that's about it. There is nothing else. And I really had to travel a lot. So I ended up spending almost a month in US and a month in India, back and forth. One thing was very clear to me. The market is USA, I have to be in front of the customer. So there is no way I can do business in USA while staying in India full time, right? So execution is here, sales is there, and so I ended up spending 6 months there. So whether I like it or not, when you're away for 6 months, you'll have to delegate. And my another operating principle has been that you trust the people first, unless they prove you wrong. I have also observed in life that a lot of people work the other way around. They first don't trust, and once the other person has gained the trust, then they start giving more and more responsibilities, power, whatever you want to call it. And of course, you are going to be taken advantage of, don't get me wrong. Out of 100, probably 10, 15, 20 people will be bad actors and your trust will be misplaced. But the bright side is 80 people, 85 people will live up to your trust. So I always trusted people till they failed me, and then I'll do whatever needed to be done. But I also talk about my failure. I think one of my biggest failure has been short temper. And the amount of damage anger does, I don't think there is an equivalent. I see a lot of people smiling, so I think they probably go through the same thing. Another one of my favorite line is, anger is a poison you take and you expect the other person to die. It doesn't happen like that. It just damages you more than anything else. So yeah, I think the delegation kind of I started by circumstances, by force, but also the way I was constructed, engineered, and by and large it worked out.
So what do you think that companies with 50 to 100 people, what is one of the biggest mistakes that founder makes that, you know, flattens the growth then? Because till then, you know, growth is very rapid, but then it kind of slows down.
So especially for services company, I think the services is an intangible thing, right? And I might be wrong, but most of the people get the initial business through their known connections in the network. And that gets you to a certain level. And my experience is that sales is the biggest problem. How many people believe that sales is the biggest problem? There you go. So sales is the toughest challenge when you want to scale up. And there are no easy answers to that, and we can take that as a separate question if we want to kind of get into the details of how do you solve the sales problem. But there is no single answer. There are multiple things that one has to do, and that's going to change from person to person, company to company, and field to field. The other challenge is also things get done randomly, ad hoc, right? Decisions are made ad hoc. And that kind of multiplies into transactions. And before you know, you have hundreds of transactions coming to your desk. Emails, iska kya karu, uska kya karu, ye wo. How do you solve that? The way we solved it is I started taking the training programs of the people, and the first thing we talked about is the being proactive, ownership, positive attitude that I talked about, and teamwork. All of that became very important. And luckily, I was reading a lot of Harvard Business Review, HBR articles. There is a gem of an article called Whose Monkey It Is. People just park the monkey on your back, right? A manager or an owner is walking the corridor, and by the time he talks to 10 people, there are 10 monkeys on his back. How do you park the monkey back is very important. And that, I think, I latched on early on, and so that gave me plenty of bandwidth. And sales also, like I said, I attacked from right get-go that unless I solve the sales issue, it's going to be very difficult. So pain number one is the sales. Pain number two is the processes. And you have to diligently work on setting the processes from early day onwards. For example, interview. What are the important things in interview? How to conduct an interview? Actually, you can set up a process. Or when you travel to USA, what are the things to do? All the way from taking a shuttle, and there are funny incidents about that. People raise $200 bill for taking a cab from airport to the hotel, and I said, what? I never spent $200. And then the processes come, right? That you will take a shuttle, this is what you do, blah, blah, blah. Documented, video, and that's how. But that started early on, and that makes life a lot more livable.
You often emphasized on investing in people. So besides salaries and perks and other things, what else did you do to develop the people in your organization?
So I'm a dinosaur. Maybe this is out of fashion right now, but I think people don't get motivated by money only, by no means. I think what really motivates them is the challenging work and their personal growth. So as founders, as CEO, as owner, if you really look after their career growth, then that goes a long way in, creating a bond, because everybody understands that if the other guy is looking out for me, I feel that and I feel good about it, right? So there is another saying that give others what they want in order to get what you want. So today you are going to get a lot of these sayings from me, but all of them I have lived through, and they are true, and that's why they are the proverbs of the sayings, right? So the way it came about, I started doing this training program and before that, I'm talking about 95, 96, 97, English was very poor in engineering colleges, in every which way you look at it. So I actually force people to take Dipti Shah's coaching classes. So they'll go to the Dipti Shah's coaching class at 8 in the morning and come at 10 at work, right? Initially there was resistance, but within 2 weeks their entire attitude changed because they realized that this is benefiting them personally. It's not only the company, they personally are benefiting. And that's that win-win thing again. Even the email communication, I had to kind of teach them how to write the emails. Conference calls, I had to teach how to write, how to conduct the conference call. Cultural differences. So everybody will call me Pratul Bhai, obviously, that's in Gujarat very common. And I said, no, you're going to call me Pratul, because that's a habit. When you get on the conference call and there is an American client, he hears why, he gets confused, like, what is this Bhai business? Very small point, but we did a lot of these small things and kind of extracted it and developed the training programs to make sure that everybody understood what we are doing and we are marching in the same direction. That was very important. So that's how the training of the people happened. And at some point in time, I read a book, and the book had something called a concept of big, hairy, audacious goal, BAG, right? I think the book was good to great, if I'm not mistaken. That's a great book to read, if you get a chance. And in another book I read about core values, that a company has to have a core values, but equally important is to live those core values. You can't simply put them on the as a poster and then just forget about it. So talking about the process is, again, we brainstormed and came up with the core values. And once we came up with the core values, then we said, how are we going to live these core values? How are we going to integrate that into our execution? And we came out with a whole bunch of things to live those core values. I won't go into those details, but that kind of started building the culture of the company, if you will, right? And people kind of got aligned very clearly in the same direction, talking the same language. And I think that made a lot of difference in terms of scaling up.
Another aspect of scaling up is picking leadership. So, instead of hiring from outside, you have always preferred grooming internal people as leaders. So, how did you work out with that?
So, as I said, we are never going to get the guys to move from Bangalore to Ahmedabad. Not going to happen. Even for engineers, we were taking the people locally, and then what you can do is get good at spotting the raw talent and then train it. Same thing applies to the leaders. A couple of minutes back, I talked about culture, right, and the core values. So I think that becomes very important for the purpose of training the leadership and also providing the direction that what is it that we are going to do, and more importantly, how we are going to do it, right? So for leadership, again, we kind of filtered out some of the brighter characters, people who have more initiative, who had better communication skills, a lot more energy. And then we put them through, again, the homebound training programs. So interestingly, the first program everybody went through, we called it Lagan, after the movie Lagan, which came out in 2001. Tons of management lessons in there. So that is one. Then we came, after a couple of years, we came out with a second program called Pegasus. So Greek mythology, Pegasus is a horse with the wings which starts flying, right? And then after a while, we came out with a third program called Altius. So all of these programs were grown within the company, and they were all focused on different attributes at different time. For example, a good leader. So good leader has to trust, he has to win the trust of his team. Just like and we use a lot of cricket analogy, just like a team captain, right? He has to have everybody's buy-in. He must be able to create the teamwork. How do you create the teamwork? And there are outbound programs to create the teamwork. He has to be held accountable, and he must be able to hold his team accountable, which is a tough thing to do. Why? Because everybody wants to be liked, including the captain. But sometimes his job is not to be liked and do the right thing by the company. And that doesn't come easily to people. You have to work on it to make that happen. Performance, orientation. So a lot of these things we worked on as a very systematic leadership training program to create the leaders. And we'll talk that language all the time. So another thing that's my favorite is language defines the culture. And you create the culture through the core values that I talked about. For example, eInfochips' first core value was customer first. You do whatever needs to be done. Nobody's going to ask you any questions, but customer first, his project has to succeed. Can't get delayed. If you have to put 2 more engineers, put 2 more engineers first. Then you worry about the CFO or anybody else who will ask you questions. ये क्यों किया, कैसे हुआ, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है, blah, blah, blah. Second is disciplined execution. So when you have these core values and you start talking, and more importantly, walking those core values, people kind of get the message, they get aligned, and then everybody kind of pushes in the same direction. That's how the growth happens.
So, despite these things that you have done for maintaining leadership, there are still instances of senior people leaving, and you have to handle that. So, how did you handle that in your organization?
So, can you hear me back now? So, I think I failed at that very miserably, to be honest with you. There were two incidents when, in 2007, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the three top guys from our ASIC semiconductor practice quit. The head of the division, the marketing guy, and one more senior delivery managers. And it was like completely unexpected, and life became fairly miserable. That was one time, and 2 years later, the head of the systems division, all the embedded software, and all of that, and three delivery managers quit. So these are all the very top level senior talent.
That's a massive blow, I must say.
Yeah. So how do you handle that? I think you handle it with great amount of difficulty. I really don't know how else to put it. But one thing I think you have to, being a founder, and if you really want to grow, you have to keep your eyes and ears to the ground. You have to be hands-on. And although you might be taken by surprise by these kind of resignations, if you're hands-on, you can quickly kind of recover by getting into the boonies and taking charge of the things, which is what I ended up doing. It probably set me back by maybe 6 months. I don't know. How do you measure that? That's very difficult to measure. But what you communicate to the people is that the things are going to be okay. It's not going to be a disaster. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm sitting. And actually, I sat down with them in the cubicles, and looked at the operations, project management, these, that, and other things continuously. And things worked out after that. So the important thing is not to panic as a leader. If you panic, everybody else is going to panic. But if you believe that you can handle it and you got this, then you got this. And you'll be able to come out it in 4, 5, 6 months. The other thing to remember is that when a senior guy quits, when the trees get chopped, there is a lot of other growth that happens that you may or may not be aware of. And a lot of that happened. And actually it worked out for better, to be honest with you, in the long term. So when this happens, the top level talent goes away, you got to take charge of its situation. You have to get down in the boonies, handle it yourself, and comfort people that everything is going to be all right, and everything will be all right. I don't know whether it answers your questions.
It does, and in fact, eInfochips was one of the first companies to introduce ESOPs, and I think that idea also was to keep people's skin in the game as well as reward them actually. Any comments about that?
Yeah, so eInfochips started stock options way before anybody in Gujarat or even in India did, I think. We started in 96 or 97, right at the beginning. And the idea was very clear, right? I have always believed in creating a win-win. I also very firmly believe that no single individual is responsible for the creation of the wealth that he holds, whether it is Mark Zuckerberg or whether it's Bill Gates or whoever it is, right? There is a whole bunch of people involved in it, including the employees, including the clients, including partners and whatnot. And therefore they should share in the prosperity. And I had seen that model way back in USA, where I worked there for about 10 years. And what gave me the gumption to come back here was that one of the companies, startup companies that I was founding team member of, Daisy Systems, uh, I was lucky number 13 in that company, got some stock options, and that company went public in 5 years. Very successful company. Uh, in 5 years from zero, it did about $125 million in revenue, about 1,000 people. And that kind of, I got about $1 million in late 80s through the stock options. No way I could have gotten through the salaries, right? So the idea kind of stayed with me. And when I started InfoChips, that people should participate in your growth. And if if the company is going to do well, they should do well as well. But the funny thing was, nobody appreciated stock options at 97, 98, 99. The common thing was, ये प्रतुल भाई को पैसा नहीं देता है, तो ये चिपका दिया है मेरे को. But that's okay. After 20 years, they so very well remember me, and we are continuously in touch with them.
So when did you realize that, now you need to have a professional CEO to run the company and rather than having things doing by yourself?
So to be honest with you, I was always looking for a co-founder / partner, come whatever you want to call it. The titles are titles. Because being here for a month and being 1 month in USA is rough life, right? And to be, very few people know this, but a couple of people in USA actually wanted to join, and they actually joined as a co-founder. I'm talking about 95, 96, 97. But when the 2001 happened and the dot-com bubble burst, they all chickened out. And ये हमसे नहीं होगा. So then I again left to myself to fend. So I always looked for, and I was all hunting for it. And finally I was able to get somebody in 2009 or 10, I think. Gentleman by the name of Raj Sirohi, who was the president of HCL USA. He came on board. And there are a lot of things that I learned from him after that as well.
So when do you think
Can I add something?
Yeah,
so if you get a co-founder, there are positives and negatives. The positive is that you'll share the load. And when you are starting something and if you plan to grow fast and furious, then having somebody along with you makes tons of sense. The negative is a lot of partners end up fighting. Now, why do they fight? In my mind, and I might be wrong, these are all, okay, whatever I talk about here today is all my personal experiences and personal opinions. There is nothing right or wrong. But one common observable thing is that if you not worry about what your partner is making or getting, but what you are getting, you'll be far more successful at making that partnership work. What happens, very typical human nature, we start worrying about what the other guy is getting. अरे मैं इतना काम करता हूँ, वो काम नहीं करता है, और उसमें पैसा ले जा रहा है. All of that psychologically it plays on your mind. And if you train and mind is a monkey, and you have to train the mind. You train the mind, said, I'm going to create a win-win. I'm going to focus on what I'm getting out of this partnership, and whether that's your partner as a co-founder, or whether that's your partner as a technology partner, OpenAI, or whatever, right? Becomes very important. So for whatever it's worth, I think creating win-win is not very common. It's a little bit unusual at a deeper level, and it will really benefit people a lot if they focus on what I'm getting out of it, on creating a win-win, rather than what he is getting out of it.
You just mentioned importance of creating systems and system operating procedures for various things. So with an exit in mind, do you think that is the right thing to do? Or how do you place it when you talk about exit, like when a founder is looking to exit the company? How are they important?
So are you saying that when should people start thinking about exit, or should they build a company with exit in mind, or? Okay, my personal opinion is that one should never worry about the exit. One should build a company as if you're going to run it for the rest of your life. Why? Because then, only then, you'll make a very strong company. Again, the principle of ownership comes in, right? If you are going to build a house and if you're going to live for 30 years, then the amount of care and passion and love you'll put in will be at a very different level than you're going to build a house for somebody else. It's simple as that. And the funny thing is, if you're building it for your own self, the quality, everything, that is going to go in at a different level. And ironically, that will give you a better valuation than if you are trying to build it for somebody else. Right? So, and it's not a given that the exit will happen. You can't say that I'm going to sell out and in 5 years I'm going to get acquired and so I'm going to drive everything accordingly. You can't do that. You have to think I'm going to run it forever and what are the best things to do for that, and then build the things accordingly. I think that's very important.
So then, how Aero got interested? Was it interested in people of your company? Was it in the processes or the products, or how was it? I mean, if you can share some light on that as well.
So that's a funny story. What actually happened was in 2017, one of the investment bankers called me up saying that, Pratul, interesting things are happening in the market. I actually have 3 offers for you. And I said, nahi, I'm doing fine, things are going along. Now is a stage when things are kind of getting settled and momentum is building up. So, nahi karna hai abhi to, bechna nahi hai. Bola, dekh to lo, at least find out what the valuation of the company is. It doesn't hurt you. Typical sales pitch, right? So I said, okay, let me think about it. Now, the other thing which, after a couple of days, what started playing on my mind was that one of the reasons I came back here is obviously to be with my parents and do something in Ahmedabad, because I always thought in the Silicon Valley, you are a cog in a giant wheel. Whether you exist or don't exist doesn't make any difference. But your value in Ahmedabad is going to be much higher than in the Silicon Valley. And third thing was that somewhere deep down, I think I always want to do something for India, for bottom of the pyramid, right? Very poor people, and you look at, when I used to travel to Pilani, I used to look at in the buses, and everywhere you find, I'm talking about 70s. Everybody in the audience probably was not born or in diapers or whatever. But that poverty was just heartbreaking. I said, it's a human being. They can't live like this. So that was always at the back of my mind, and it never got its expression. Although in 2012, I had started a foundation called Dr. K.R. Shroff Foundation, way back in 2012. But I was not paying any attention to it, except maybe once every month, couple of hours, right? So Amit Singh was the name of the investment. So he called me, then I started, baat to theek hai, now I'm hanging out in 63. I had like 15, 20 years left. When I'm going to do that? And I said, theek hai, dekhte hain. So I started talking to the potential investor companies and private equity guys and this and that. Aero was nowhere in the picture. Then this all started in, I think, in summer sometime, I don't remember, April, May, somewhere. We set up the due diligence room and all the records on the server and this and that. I went to US in September on my regular trip, and my VP sales said, the Aero CXOs want to meet you. I said, why does they want to meet me? What have I done? Partnership hai, chal rahi hai, chalne do. And Aero is a electronic components company, right? Nothing to do with me, so to speak, except the hardware design. And that part came in later on. So they said, well, they are threatening to break up the partnership if you don't meet up with them. I said, something is going on. I have no idea what the hell is going on. Milna to padega. So they said, we'll fly back to your office in San Jose. They flew out on a Friday, chief strategy officer and the chief technology officer, both of them. For 2 hours, they laid down the vision of Aero and the roadmap and the strategy and this and that. And at the end, they said that, Pratul, we would like to acquire you. And I was like, what? Just out of nowhere, those 2 hours. Of course, during the 2 hours, I kind of started getting the feel, कि ये लोग मुझे क्यों बता रहे हैं उनकी strategy क्या है? And I told them that I have due diligence going on and there are 3 offers and this and that. Said, no, we are interested, we are partners, you should give us a chance.
The first right of refusal.
Not even first right, give us a chance to bid, right? I said, but I'm completing everything in next couple of weeks. They said, we'll have the offer out to you in next week. And they actually submitted a letter of intent within 7 days. Now, why Aero got interested in us? Because we partner with Aero, and Aero as a distributor always what they call the long tail. They'll have a lot of small customers, right? Because large customers will go directly to the semiconductor guys. If Cisco wants to buy chips, they'll go to Intel. They're not going to come to Aero. But if I'm doing a startup and I need some parts, I'll call up Aero. So that's what I mean by they have a long tail. And a lot of design wins are happening. So strategically, if they move up the value chain at the time of the design, then it's much easier for them to lock into the manufacturing when that company goes big. And maybe 1 out of 20 will grow big, but they'll lock it in, right? And Aero had a lot of other services also, including warehousing services, financial services, manufacturing services, whatnot. So it became a strategic piece for their overall company strategy. And that's why they were interested. To cut the long story short, they had done their homework before they started talking to me. They checked out our customers, they had talked to all people, they have got the reviews. Everybody was tick mark, tick mark, tick mark. So this is a good company, they deliver good values, blah, blah, blah. And so they did the homework and then came. So that's how the Aero happened.
So from building the company from scratch to eventually exit, what do you think you could have done differently and made a better impact?
So one thing I certainly would have learned not to get angry very early on. I think anger does a lot of damage. I would have not criticized people openly as much, or not at all. The saying goes, praise in public and criticize in private. I would have exercised it much way earlier than that. Number 2. And I think we were very poor. I shouldn't say that, but I think eInfochips is not very good at marketing. I think I would have placed far more emphasis on the marketing than what we did. So those are the 3 things probably I'll do differently, but nothing else. I think everything else was pretty okay from my perspective.
So for all businessmen, entrepreneurs here, what do you think in next 3 to 5 years, what should they focus on? What should they be after to make their enterprise successful?
So I think one disruption that's happening is AI. Everybody knows about that, and I'm sure everybody's using the cursor and the co-pilot and all of that stuff. But if you really think about it, somewhere you have to, and it's an ocean, right? Early on I talked about differentiating yourself. I would differentiate myself by working on the AI agent and some industry, pick an industry. I don't know what it could be automotive, it could be pharma, it could be heavy industrial, it could be banking.
Entertainment?
Huh?
Entertainment?
Entertainment, any of those, right? And then come out with the AI agent which will really boost up the productivity and deliver on the promises of the AI. Or even design an architect. I think the technology is there. If you want to design an electronic designer, you can design an electronic designer as an AI agent, as opposed to kind of staying in the periphery and, you know, semi-automating coding and using this and that and all of that. That's just one example. I think there are tons of other examples that come to my mind. That's one. Paying attention to your people, I think, is the most important thing, as I said earlier. And by the way, I had the same, I earlier on heard the dialogue about Gen Z. Gen Z is this, Gen Z is that. I'm talking about early 2000s. All my managers complain about the same thing. All the fresh graduates. ये fresh graduate को कैसे समझाया? All they after is money. They are not serious. Blah blah blah. And I'm sure we all have heard that that same dialogue at home. From our grandparents, those who are lucky to have great grandparents, grandparents, parents, everybody says the same thing. But you know what? It's human nature.
And we'll tell our children the same thing.
वो भी उससे ये देखो हमारे ज़माने में कुछ नहीं है. Fundamental human nature at the end of the day is the same. Some of the things change, but the hunger to succeed, everybody has the same. Well, I can't say everybody has the same hunger to succeed, but everybody wants to succeed. Some people want to succeed with less effort. Some people want to put in the effort that it requires. But if you address those needs, as I say early on, give people what they want in order to get what you want, makes all the difference. And one more thing I think is very important is not giving up. There are going to be challenges along the way, day in and day out. Every day you will fail. And every day you have to get up and say, I'm going to do it differently this time. Right? Winners don't do different things. They do things differently. So all the challenges that come your way, you got to take it head on and tackle it. And you know what? Personally, you'll grow because of that. You'll become a much stronger person, much more capable person, because adversity steals and tempers a person. So by going through all the adversities, you're going to come out much stronger and much better person at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. So, if anyone has any question for Pratul bhai, yeah, please.
Typically, yeah, we all are Gujarati entrepreneur, right? Transparency, trust, as we all say, Gen Z, right? That's just a word. But the thing is, why people will put a trust in us? Why they start valuing those stocks? So, एना માટે કંઈક કહી શકો.
So, as I said early on, you know, at least in late 90s and early 2000, I don't think people valued stocks. As I said, they say, you know, they don't want to, paisa nahi aapta hai, like agadiya pakda hai. But even then I kept giving the stocks. Then what I did in 2001 is actually Wipro's CEO, Vivek Paul, made a public statement somewhere in 2000 that we are going to grow by 10x in 5 years. So I stole it. I said, this is great, you know. We will also grow by 10x in 5 years. We didn't, that's a different story. But 10x in 5 years requires 66 or 60, 70% growth year on year, which is very difficult. But what it did was align everybody. And then everybody started working very hard, and we could grow 35 to 40% year on year, right? Your point about trust and transparency, another thing that I have always observed, you can lecture people all you want. People are much smarter than you think. They don't go by what you are saying. They go by what you are doing, including your children. So my golden advice to all the parents out there, don't lecture your kids. That's not going to make any difference whatsoever, not even 1%. But your behavior, what you do, that's what they are going to emulate, that's what they are going to copy, and that's how they are going to learn. And by the way, the same thing applies to the employees. So if I'm transparent to them, for example, I always hold every month, we'll hold a town hall meeting and we'll share everything, all the progress, problems, these, that, other things, right? They appreciate that. And they say, okay, yeah, he walks the talk. He says he trusts us and all of that. So I think it comes through your behavior. And there is no substitute for that. I don't know whether I answered the question or not, but that's what it takes.
So my question is, if you have to start eInfochip again in 2026, what will be your strategy? It will be people first, or it will be like kind of like a industry first. What will be your strategy?
So assuming industry is going to be the same software, let us say, and that again go back to, right, when you are hammer, everything looks like a nail. So assuming industry is the same software, I'll put people first, any day, any time, because people are the ones who are going to build the company, right? Without them, you can't do anything. So that's also very clear. Training the people in all the things that I talked about, the attitude, the ownership, the teamwork, taking initiative, all of that will remain the same. None of that will change. What will change is the technology component. So by the way, today's conversation, the talk that we had talked about, is not, it was not geared for technology at all, right? It's true for any aspect of any business, so to speak. Some business, and I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. I'm saying that's the way to do it for at least software industry, services industry, because there people are more paramount important. If you have manufacturing, the equations might change a little bit, or quite a bit. But when it comes to services, people are paramount, people first, always. And then the technology you have to look at very closely. What is it that's going to work? Where are the tailwinds? What's going to drive growth for the next 10 years? And there are a lot of interesting technologies. You know, today everybody talks about AI, but there is so much stuff happening out there. You talk about the cyber, I mean, big guy in cybersecurity, right? You talk about cybersecurity, you talk about blockchains. All kind of things are happening out there. And blockchains can be applied to any number of things. You need to find something which you like. One thing I didn't talk about is a passion. My another favorite saying is, passion is God saying hello to you. So passion is very critical for success in the long term, because passion is what gives you the energy to get up and go when failures come your way, right? That no, I want to do this, I'm going to do it, whatever it takes, kind of thing. So that's very important. And technology, if I'm going to start something from scratch, like I said, I'll take some vertical, study deep, have a couple of domain experts, and come up with a solution based on the AI agents, which adds tons of value to that particular industry.
All right, so before we take one more question, I want to play a little game with you. So one word wala to ho gaya. I asked my AI to do something different. So again, it's an instant created 5 minutes before. So you have to say it true or false. Okay, in one word. Okay.
So both of us have to answer separately, or?
Whatever, you have to say it at the same time. Okay, so you don't have to wait for each other. Okay, so the statement which I say, whether it's true or false. All right. So are we ready? Perfect. First question. Can you please put the mic near to you? First question. Gujarati entrepreneurs focus more on profit than purpose.
True. Yes.
True. Yeah. Perfect. True or false, sir? So true. Good. Bootstrapping creates stronger founders than VC funding.
False.
True.
Okay. 50-50. Good. That's what we want. And at the same time, you guys can also shout and say true or false. Okay. Let's play it together. But sir, you have to do it fast so that they can do at the same time. Okay. Third question. Most Indian founders scale before they deserve to.
False.
False.
Nice. Family-run businesses struggle more with professional leadership.
True.
True.
Nice. Lot of families, just like Ankush's relationships. Fifth, in India, jugaad is overused and overrated.
True.
Great teams matter more than great leaders.
True.
False.
I like this answer. Too much respect for seniors slows innovation.
False.
Mixed emotions. Being famous helps business but hurts leadership.
False.
Work-life balance is a luxury, not a strategy.
True.
True.
Sir, आप बहुत ये बहुत deep question था maybe for you. The last question. A Gujarati entrepreneur thinks of profit first, emotions later.
True.
True.
Emotions later. Sure, true?
100%.
Perfect. Now last, one word. You both have to give an answer in one word. Okay, I'll ask the question. And then we'll take only 2 questions and then we'll move forward. We are perfect with the time. We have recovered. It's 1 p.m. sharp. Time for next session. We'll take it more 5 minutes because the lunch is good enough of 1.5 hours. Okay, about the questions are specific about beyond founders, team, systems, and culture. Okay, first question. Leadership according to you, one word.
Leader.
Okay,
Example.
example. Perfect. The hardest part of scaling people.
Behavior.
Behavior.
Trust.
Trust. Anybody? Shout out. Mindset. Clarity. Okay. So we'll take 2 or 3 more answers from people at the same time. Okay. Raise your hand. I'll say it and then shout it. Okay. Third question. The biggest mistake founders make while building teams.
Distrust.
Distrust.
I agree. Distrust.
नहीं सर आपका कुछ और तो होगा ना उसके अलावा.
So I have a tool that we developed for psychometric assessment. So I think then use that then.
Okay, perfect. Anyone? Alignment. Okay, we'll take fourth. Culture breaks when there is. Culture breaks when there is what? One word.
Diversity.
Diversity. Culture breaks when there is.
Culture cannot break by definition.
Yeah. So,
We can have a debate on this, but I don't think culture breaks.
okay, perfect. What was your answer? Misfit. Yes. Anyone else? Culture breaks when there is. Evolves. Double standard behavior. What an example, sir. Fifth, being famous is. Being famous is what?
Good.
Good.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Being famous is? Huh? Successful. Responsibility. Privileged. Dream. Wow. Systems over people or people over systems?
People over systems.
People over systems.
Perfect. A habit that helped you scale. A habit that helped you scale.
Discipline.
Discipline.
Yet to be there.
Yet to be there. Anyone else? Punctuality. Consistency. Focus. Ethical mentality. Resilience. Nice. FOMO.
So can I add to that?
Yeah, you can, sir.
General Gyan. So, and I repeat that a lot of talks that I give. I have 5 P's. Passion for entrepreneurs. Passion, people, processes, perseverance, and patience.
Thank you, sir. 8th question. One thing you still micromanage, but you should not. सर जी जवाब तो देना पड़ेगा.
Money.
हाँ?
Money.
Attendance.
Attendance. One thing you still micromanage, but you should not. Time. ये तो आंसर इसका तो सबके पास होना चाहिए. Anyone? People, finance. Very good. Honest answer. Anyone else? Okay, everything. Nice. 9th question, last 2. What young founders overthink the most? Young entrepreneurs सबसे ज़्यादा overthink क्या करते हैं?
Where is the next business is going to come from?
So, in one word,
Sales.
sales,
Exit.
exit. What young founders overthink the most? Huh? Failure. Probable reason of failure. Perfection, valuation. Anyone else? Equity. कौन बोलियो? Last question. After a long stressful day, your reset button.
TV,
TV.
friends.
Friends.
Friends meaning friends show.
Friends. Okay.
Food.
Food. Very good. Anyone else? Sleep. Family. Netflix and chill. हाँ? Kids. Nice. चलो एक और क्वेश्चन ले लेते हैं. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन और everyone has to think about it and give a precise answer. Okay? Think of yourself and then give an answer. One word about Gujarati entrepreneurs. Sir, starts from you. One word about Gujarati entrepreneurs. सोच के बताना. सब गुजराती है. नहीं. Lot of people are from other places as well.
Profit.
Profit.
Enterprising.
Enterprising. Guys. સાહસ. હા? શું? શાણો. તું બહુ શાણો છે. હા? ચિંગુસ. વાહ. મેં કીધું ને દિલથી બોલો એટલે બધું નીકળે છે હવે. Anyone else from here? One word about risk takers. Jugadu. Guys from the back. Huh? Courageous. सरजी आवाज आ रही है ना अभी तो बताइए वन वर्ड अबाउट गुजराती एंटरप्रेन्योर्स रिलेशनशिप बिल्डर विजनरीज ओके परफेक्ट कॉम्प्लीमेंट फ्रॉम द महाराष्ट्र टू गुजराती अरे सर आपका वड़ा पाव तो यार हमें मिला आपसे ही आ रहा हूं आपको कॉम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे क्या बात करते हो सो विल टेक लास्ट 2 क्वेश्चन सर एंड देन विल मूव फॉरवर्ड एनीवन हैज क्वेश्चन यस
Sir, myself Jainesh Shah. So, being in the Gujarat, many a times we always feel that we are always in the lack of good resources or talented people, but which I guess you have proven wrong to majority of us. So the question is it like one way you said like when you are missing the right talented people or maybe the communication, you give an example of Diftisha classes. So there is a one way to train your own people or else wait for the right people at the right time and maybe the time passes and we keep waiting for the right people who can join and add values to the companies. So what is your take on that as we all sooner or later facing the similar challenges?
I think you answered your own question. How long you're going to wait?
Yeah, that is the always thing. So we have to train, but we are not sure it's a right strategy or not.
So there is a saying, right? Don't wait all the lights to turn green because if you do, you'll never get out of your garage. Red lights hongi. So not having the talent is a red light. You have to solve the problem. So my answer is number 1 option. You have to train people and get going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Last question, then we'll move forward. Anyone else?
So myself, Mehul Shah. We are basically a product-based company. Okay? You told in the discussion that there is a major problem of a sales, right, for an organization. So I would like to share that sales for us is not a problem, but approach towards the sales is a problem. What do you comment on this?
So you said you are a product company?
Yes.
Okay, so all of my things were more geared for the services rather than the product. If you have as the saying goes, right? If you have something, a gizmo that nobody else has, the world will beat the way to your doors. So if your product is amazing, then you can feel or you can experience the hockey stick, as they say.
Right. So if the ICP is clear, if the product is good, then there shouldn't be a problem for a product. But if the ICP
provided
is
you market and sell it correctly.
Correct.
I mean, obviously you have
So
to sell the product.
in that case, marketing comes
Absolutely.
first. Okay. Thank you.
You have to market it, right? Correctly. I mean, the value of your product has to be very clear to the end user. Only then they're going to buy it. All of us buy something when we perceive the value. Whether it's a real value, perceived value, वो छोड़ दें.
Right.
But आप गाड़ी खरीदते तो आपको कुछ अच्छा, that's how you choose a car, right? That I like this better because it has better mileage. I like this because it's a faster, whatever the features are. So your product has to very clearly articulate the benefits to the end customer and the value that it will deliver. then I think you should be successful in selling it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can we have a big round of applause for Pratul?
May I request Taral and Gurpreet to come on stage and facilitate with a token of appreciation. भाई एकदम energetic background music वगाड़ो. Big round of applause to one of the best sessions of the day.